Within this video, we're going to continue through our Lesson 5 of the Rube Goldberg machine pulleys. Specifically, we're going to go ahead and work through the engine activity model for the runway. So you can, of course, follow along here inside of the PDF, and of course, follow along here inside of the video. And to make sure that we can do this very efficiently, we're going to clear everything that we have in our work area. So let's go up here into Window, come down here into Levels, and then right-click on our pulley challenge, come down to Change Streaming Method, and set this to Blueprint. We're going to make sure that we click the little eyeball to hide everything. And the last part of this is we're going to come up here to Persistent Level, right-click on it, and we're going to go ahead and select Make Current. This way, as we're adding stuff with the modeling tools, it will be added to this persistent level and none of these other levels that are hidden. So now let's go ahead and just dock this up here. And what's important to understand is that we're going to be using a plugin. Now this plugin is already toggled on in this project, but should you need it ever in the future, this is how you can actually turn it on. Come up here into the settings section up in the top right-hand corner and go ahead and choose plugins. Within the plugins, go ahead and search for modeling mode. And we're specifically looking for this one right here, this modeling tools editor mode. Make sure that this one is toggled on, and if it's not, toggle it on, and then you'll have to restart the engine. But don't worry, it's pretty quick. All right, with that out of the way, let's go ahead and use these modeling tools here inside of the Unreal Engine so we don't have to go to something like Blender to build something brand new. We can just stay right here inside of Unreal. First, we're actually going to need to turn on these modeling tools. So up here in the top left-hand corner, you'll find a little section that says Selection Mode. We're going to click that drop-down, and we're going to choose the modeling tools. Now, to build this lollipop, we're going to need two things. We're going to need a cylinder for the stem, and we're going to need a sphere for the top of it. So let's go ahead and create the cylinder first. At the very top underneath our Shapes section, you'll find a cylinder button. So go ahead and just click on that. And then drag your mouse into the world, and you'll see that this will just kind of snap to whatever surface happens to be underneath your cursor. Go ahead and click it once, and then move your cursor over here to where it says radius and height. And we're going to change the radius to 5. So click in here and press 5 and then enter. And then for the height, we're going to go ahead and type in 75 and then press enter. So with the radius and the height set, we're going to go ahead and come down here to the very bottom and say accept. Now this has created an actual mesh here inside of the Unreal Engine, so I want to show you where this actually exists. And to find it, all we have to do is open up the content drawer. Now to open up the content drawer with a hotkey, hold down Control or Command on a Mac and tap the space bar. And inside of here, if we go into our content and we come down here into our maps, we'll find a new folder that says _generated. Go ahead and double click on this, and you'll find a folder with your name on it, and just double click and open up that one. And inside of here, you'll find that actual cylinder. So this model is now a static mesh that you've created here inside of the Unreal Engine. All right, let's go ahead and close down the content drawer again by holding Control or Command on a Mac and tapping the spacebar. Now let's go ahead and add the sphere to the top of this. So up here in the top left-hand corner, just find the sphere button. We'll just go ahead and click on that. And I'm going to bring the sphere into my scene, and I'm going to try and line it up on the top of my cylinder. Just left mouse click. And we're going to come up here to the radius, and we're going to change this from a value of 50 to a value of 20, and then just press enter. So now we just need to press the accept button down here at the bottom, and we have all of the pieces that we need for our lollipop. Next, we're going to go ahead and add in some color to this lollipop because gray is pretty boring. So I'm going to hold Control or Command on a Mac and tap the spacebar. We're going to start at the very top in the content folder, and inside of here what I'm looking for is a folder that says materials. Go ahead and double click on this, and inside of this one we'll find another folder that says plastics. Go ahead and double click on that. And inside of here we have a whole bunch of colors. So I'm going to go ahead and just use this plastic ivory right here. I'm going to click and drag that and drag it on the stem like so. Let's go ahead and open up the content drawer again, and let's go ahead and choose a blue. So I'll use this blue. I'll just click and drag this onto the top. And now we actually have color for the bottom and the top. And I'll press escape just to get the gizmo out of the way so you can see this. Next, we're going to go ahead and do two more things to make our lives a lot easier when placing this into the world. One, we're going to combine these two pieces together. And two, we're going to set the pivot point so it's at the very bottom of this object. So I'm going to go ahead and select the stem and then hold Control or Command on a Mac and click on the sphere. Over here on the left-hand side, you'll see that we have another little button that says Mesh Merge. We'll go ahead and click on that. And then just come down to the bottom of the screen and choose Accept. Now, you'll notice something kind of strange, and this is that pivot point thing I was talking about. It's right in the middle of this object. So what I want to do, I'll hit F to zoom in on it, and if I come into my content drawer, let's go back into our maps, into our generated, into the folder with our name on it. If I drag another one of these in, you'll notice that it's like halfway in the surface, and that's because that pivot point is in the dead center. And if you get this little warning, go ahead and just say, okay, that's fine. Right? And so that's a problem. Let's go ahead and delete that one out of there. So we're going to move the pivot point to the very bottom of this object. So to do that, let's go over here to our little modeling tools, and I'm going to scroll down until I find the transform section. And specifically, I'm going to be looking for this button right here that says pivot. So with the object selected, I'll go ahead and click on this pivot. And then all I need to do is to find the bottom button right here and click that. That'll actually knock it to the very bottom center of our object. Then I'll go ahead and just say accept. Now, just as a good measure, let's go ahead and make sure that this is named properly. So inside the content drawer, I'm going to right click on our object here, and I'm going to choose rename. I'm just going to rename this one my lollie. Next, let's go ahead and set the collision on this so that it'll behave properly as we're using it inside of this project. So go ahead and just double click on my lollie. And from here, we're going to move all the way up to the very top where it says collision. And then we're going to go ahead and click on this auto convex collision. This is going to open up a new window in the bottom right hand corner. And we're going to go ahead and just press the apply button. What this has done is add a collision to both the cylinder and the sphere sections so that it'll behave correctly when we're working with it inside of the engine. The last thing that we want to do is tell the Unreal Engine that we want to use this collision that we just created. So up here inside of the details panel, inside of search, we're going to look for the word complexity. And we're going to go ahead and click on this drop down and choose project default. So now we're going to go ahead and save up here in the top left hand corner and close this out. And to test this, let's go ahead and zoom out a little bit. We can lift this up. I'm going to use my rotation tool just to kind of tip it a little bit. Come over here inside of our physics section, make sure that we are actually simulating physics, and then go ahead and just press play, and it should drop and work like we would expect. So there you have it. You now know how to create an object here inside of the Unreal Engine using the modeling tools, add a material to it, create collision for it, and then tell the Unreal Engine that you want to use that collision that you had just created.